Look at this. It's a special hardcover edition of one of my favorite books, Kafka on the Shore, by the Japanese author Haruki Murakami. And in this episode, we're going to analyze a few excerpts from it. But we'll do that from a very specific perspective, which is that of your own personal and spiritual growth. What is the message, the lesson that is in this book that you can take with you for your own personal growth? That's the question that we're going to try to answer today. And stay till the very end, because I'll tell you more about the secret ingredient that is presented here to developing your intuition. If you want to be happy, then the ability to trust yourself and your intuition is of primary importance. I don't think that you can be happy if you don't trust yourself. Therefore, the message that we're going to analyze today is crucial for your happiness. Let's do this. What a wise lesson this is. We'll think about what comes later. When you start living like this, like we'll think about what comes later, and pay attention to now, you're gonna start developing a different set of qualities, such as intuition, your ability to make decisions. Hello there, welcome to another video. Today we have a great book, Murakami, Kafka on the Shore. It's a great one, I have to say. Really engaging, really fun, so I cannot but recommend it. It's a fictional book, and it's a magical realism one. There's some fantasy in it. There are some fantastical elements in it. But it's really fun, really interesting, really engaging and captivating. This is a vintage classics hardback edition. The original is written in Japanese. I think it was written in the year 2002. And this is a translation by Philip Gabriel. Yeah, it's a very good one. Great book. There's probably a lot to analyze, a lot to say about it. But in this next 20 minutes, we're just gonna have a look at one of the characters, one of the protagonists. There are two protagonists. Kafka is one of them. The name has a link to Franz Kafka. But anyway, let's not get there, because we're not going to be talking about Kafka. We're going to be talking about the other protagonist, whose name is Nakata. And Nakata is a 90-year-old Japanese man. That's very, very interesting character, really. So we're going to analyze the character of Nakata and try to see what kind of a lesson we can find in how he behaves, how he lives, how he sees life. And again, this is a good point where we can remind ourselves, or I can remind myself, what I am trying to do here. This is not a literature class. We are not trying to analyze the book in the same way that you would analyze it during your literature class at university. What I want to do with you here, I want to extract lessons lessons that you can take for your own internal development. So the focus of our attention is not outside of us, it's not here, it's not in the books, but primarily inside, so that we can use the book as a tool to find something inside of ourselves, as a mirror almost. So the essence of the lessons that are in the videos that I produce, such as this one, is not in the books, but rather in you. It's an internal process that we are mainly concerned with. Reminds me of something that Carl Jung said. He said, "He who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." So we don't want to look outside, we want to start learning how we can start looking inside more and more frequently. And if we do that, we'll soon awaken, in the terms of Carl Jung. What do we awaken from? We awaken from the dream of thought. If you haven't recognized, there is a chatter in your mind. You have a voice in your mind that's constantly talking, constantly commenting on things. Too bad this happened. Too bad this didn't happen. How am I going to deal with life if this happens? How am I going to survive if that happens? What happened 10 years ago, I can't forget. All of this stuff that's going on in our heads all the time. Our mind is talking and chatting and commenting and criticizing others and criticizing yourself and thinking about the future, the past, blaming, judging, criticizing, commenting, all sorts of things. To the point that we forget, it's like a hypnosis almost, that we forget that this is just a part of who we are. There is a deeper part to you that has nothing whatsoever to do with your mind, with the thoughts in your head, with the narrative that you have in your mind. And the problem is that most of us, we have forgotten about it. And somehow, I think the lesson that I want us to take from this is that of there is a deeper dimension to who you are. There is a deeper dimension to who you are that has nothing to do with the thoughts. It's the dimension where you can observe your mind from. If you're able to observe, to listen to the chatter of your mind as it happens, then eventually you'll learn to recognize that your thoughts are there, but there is another dimension to who you are, which is far behind the thoughts. And this is the dimension that we can call the observer or the witness. It's that part of you who's always there. It's always unchanged. It's beyond time. So it's always constant. It's a constant of life. If you think about when you were 10 years old and you look at yourself in the mirror and compare that to now, let's say you're 40 years old, you look at yourself in the mirror, what you look at is very different, completely different. Science will even tell you that not a single cell remains from your body when it was 10, now that your body is 40. But there is something in you that remains the same. And that something is you, the one who's looking. If I ask you, was it you looking at yourself in the mirror when you were 10? You're going to say yes. Is it you looking at yourself in the mirror when you're 40? You're going to say yes. Okay, that's the part of you that we want to try to remember to pay more attention to. That part of you that's behind the content of your mind, behind the activity of your mind or your emotions. And I think why I chose this character Nakata for us to analyze is because Nakata has access to that deeper dimension of who he is. And he is a self-realized person, we can say. Although, yeah, you'll see. It's an interesting one. Right, so let's start with a conversation here that Nakata has with someone called Hoshino. I think this is going to give you a bit of context in terms of the character of Nakata. So they are in a restaurant. Hoshino pointed to the menu taped to the wall. Order whatever you want, Gramps. So Hoshino calls him Gramps because Nakata is an old man. The food's cheap here and pretty good. All right, Nakata said, and did as he was told, staring at the menu, until he remembered he couldn't read. I'm sorry, Mr. Hoshino, but I'm not very bright and can't read. Is that so? Hoshino said, amazed. Can't read? That's pretty rare these days. But that's okay. I'm having the grilled fish and omelette. Why don't you get the same? That sounds good. Grilled fish and omelette are some of Nakata's favorites. Glad to hear it. I enjoy eel too. Yeah, I like eel myself. But eel's not something you have in the morning, is it? That's right. And Nakata had eel last night when Mr. Hagita bought some for me. Glad to hear it, Hoshino said again. Isn't it kind of a pain not being able to read? Hoshino asked after some time. Yes, sometimes I have trouble because I can't read. As long as I stay in Nakano Ward in Tokyo, Nakano Ward I imagine is like a borough in Tokyo. As long as I stay there, he says, it's not so bad. But if I go somewhere else, like now, it's very hard for me. I guess so. Kobe is pretty far from Nakano. Kobe is the village where they are at the moment. Nakata doesn't know north or south. All I know is left and right. So I get lost and can't buy tickets either. Incredible you were able to get this far. Many people were kind enough to help me. You are one of them, Mr. Hoshino. I don't know how to thank you. That must be tough, though, not being able to read. My granddad was pretty senile, but he could still read well enough. I'm specially dumb, said Nakata. Is everybody in your family like that? No, they aren't. One brother is a department head at a place called Aitochu, and the other brother works at an office called MIT. Wow, Hoshino said. Pretty elite bunch. So you're the only one who's a bit off, huh? Yes, Nakata's the only one who had an accident and isn't bright. That's why I'm always being told not to go out too much and cause any trouble for my brothers, nieces, and nephews. Yeah, I guess most people would find it awkward to have someone like you turning up. I don't understand difficult things, but I know that as long as I stay in Tokyo, I don't get lost. The governor helped me out, and I get along well with cats. Once a month, I get my hair cut, and every once in a while, I eat eel. So, the context of this is that Nakata, when he was a child, he had an accident, as he calls it. It was more of a paranormal kind of accident. I'm not going to tell you much about it, but because of that, he is disabled now. And he has what we can call an intellectual disability. That's why he says a few times that he's dumb and that he's not especially bright and that there's something wrong with him, basically. Because he is not an intellectually developed person. But the interesting result of that is that because he didn't develop his intellectual mind abilities, he has access to a deeper dimension in himself underneath the mind. This is the archetype of the fool. Another common example, another famous example of this is the character of Forrest Gump. He is not very bright either, but because of his simplicity, because of his naivety, because of the fact that he is not developed intellectually, he is not lost in his mind like most of us are. This is the thing with the mind. The mind is a great tool, but a lousy master, is something that Robin Sharma said. And what this means is the mind is an incredible tool. Look how far it got us. I mean, all the technology I'm using to record this video is just a tiny fruit of the things, the technological advancements that we've been able to create because of our mind. But there's been a price to pay for that. And the price has been we've got lost in our minds. We've got lost in our thoughts. And because of that, we have forgotten that there is something deeper to who we are than our mind. And Nakata is a very interesting character because he has access to that precisely because he hasn't yet achieved that level of intellectual development that's average. So, where are you headed? Hoshino asks Nakata. Nakata doesn't know yet, but after we got here, I knew I had to go across a bridge, a big bridge near here. Ah, so you're going to Shikoku. I'm very sorry, Mr. Hoshino, but I don't know geography very well. If you cross the bridge, are you in Shikoku? Yeah. If you're talking about a big bridge around here, that's the one to Shikoku. There are 3 of them actually. One goes from A to B, then to C. Another one goes to E and F, and the other one goes to G. Are these bridges really big? Nakata asked. They are huge. Is that right? Anyway, Nakata's going to cross over one of them, probably whichever one is closest. I'll work out what to do after that later on. So what you're saying is you don't have any friends or anybody where you're headed? No, Nakata doesn't know anybody there. You are going to cross the bridge to Shikoku and then find somewhere else to go. That's right. And you don't know where that somewhere is. I have no idea. But I think I'll know it when I get there. Geez, Hoshino said. So, one of the fruits of Nakata not being intellectually developed is that he has an incredibly well-developed sense of intuition. He can trust his gut feeling. He can pay attention to what's going on inside of him, and he can trust his own ability to make decisions. And he's there in the middle of nowhere in a village where he's never been to, because he's on a journey. He doesn't know where he's going. All he knows is he has a strong sense that he needs to go there. And like here, he has a strong sense he needs to cross a bridge. Okay, they are going to go to the closest bridge. But what after that? He doesn't have any clue what he's going to do after that. And this is what's called intuition. And we all have that if we pay attention. The problem is we are so lost in our minds that we have lost our connection with our natural, intuitive power to direct our lives, to make decisions. We're always thinking about, when this happens, I'll do that, then I will go there, then I will study this, then I will get married, then I will have 3 children, 2 sons, 1 daughter, then I will buy a house, then I will get this job, this promotion, this amount of money, and then I'll be happy. That's how we live. But Nakata lives in a totally different way. He doesn't care about tomorrow. He's never thinking about what I'm going to do when. He's only concerned about this moment. And all he knows, right now, I need to cross the river, the bridge, and I'll do that. And I'll put all my effort in doing that. Why? Because in myself, in my heart, in my gut, I know that that is the correct thing to do. So this is after they cross the bridge. Well, Mr. Nakata, here we are, Shikoku. What a wonderful bridge. Nakata's never seen such a huge one before. So, did you have a message from God or something? Hoshino asked, telling you where you're supposed to go now, what you're supposed to do. No, Nakata still has no idea. Great. Nakata rubbed his head deliberately with his palm for a while, as if pondering weighty matters. Mr. Hoshino, he finally said, what's up? I'm sorry, but Nakata really needs to go to sleep. I'm so sleepy, I feel like I could fall asleep right here. Wait a sec, you can't fall asleep here, Hoshino said, flustered. Tell you what, I'll find you a place where you can crash out, okay? Just hang in there for a while. All right, Nakata will hang on in there and try not to fall asleep. Good. Are you hungry? No, just sleepy. Hoshino quickly located the tourist information desk, found an inexpensive inn that included complimentary breakfast, and called to book a room. It was some distance from the station, so they hailed a taxi. As soon as they arrived, Nakata skipped taking a bath and undressed, lay down in bed, and in an instant was peacefully snoring away. I'll probably sleep for a long time, so don't be alarmed, he had said just before he fell asleep. So when they cross the river, he doesn't yet know what to do. All he knows is he is sleepy. So what does he do? He goes to sleep. And circumstances around him are organized by a higher power in such a way that he gets all his needs met. He doesn't have any money. He doesn't have a job. He's intellectually disabled. All he has is a subsidy that is not much, but people are always caring for him. So what happens is universe orchestrates for him to be cared for, and for food to be on his table, and for him to be given a lift to the place where he needs to go, and for him to be able to find a bed where he can sleep. He's not there thinking about how he's going to live. He just pays attention to what in his heart he thinks he has to do at this precise moment. How different is that from how we live? We're always thinking about the past, the future, our plans, the things that didn't go well. What if, how things would be different if this hadn't happened, or if I would have made a different decision, my life would be so brilliant now, but I did the incorrect decision, so now I resent it and I can't be happy. Or we're always thinking about tomorrow, what I'm going to do when this happens, that happens. Or what if the worst happens? How am I going to survive? And what I'm going to do when my wife leaves me, or if my kids don't like me, or if they fire me from my job. We're always thinking about past or future, and we're hardly ever available for the present, for the things around us. Another thing you need to know about Nakata is that he lives in close connection to nature. He has a very intimate relationship to nature. He can even talk to cats. So he's aware, he's present, he lives in the present moment. He lives in connection with nature around him, in connection with his feelings, with his gut feeling, with his intuition. He can listen to that metaphorical voice, inner voice that we all have that guides us. It's called intuition, but the problem is why you don't hear it is because your mind's making so much noise. It has been making so much noise for such a long time that you forgot that there is something more than that. So the character of Nakata is a reminder to us that there is something more to us than our mind. There's a deeper dimension to who we are, but you're only going to find it if you return to the present moment, if you learn to live your life more presently. What does that mean? Can you pay attention to the things around you, the sounds around you, as much as possible? Can you pay attention to the subtle things around you, nature, the sky, the weather? Usually we just judge the weather as horrible, terrible, or great, and we don't even care to pay attention. We're never curious with things around us when we live in our minds. We're always just so focused on getting somewhere, and we're always thinking about, oh, I need to get there, and we forget about anything else. And we lose touch with that which is the most important, which is this present moment. So next time that you go outside, make sure to remember to feel the air brushing against your face, or your feet making contact with the ground as you walk. And your emotions. If you learn to pay attention to your body, can you feel your body? Can you feel your hands, your legs, your feet making contact with the ground? What you will realize if you're able to pay attention is the moment you inhabit your body, you're not thinking. And the moment you're not thinking, you're quiet. There's a degree of internal stillness. And when that's the case, you are connected with a deeper place to who you are that has nothing to do with thought. And this is the dimension of who you are. It's formless, it's spiritual. When you live in connection with this dimension, that's when you'll have access to the intuition that Nakata is such a master of. So now Hoshino and Nakata, they arrive at a library. "Mr. Nakata," Hoshino said in front of the gate. "Yes, how can I help you?" "What do we do after we go inside the library? I'm always afraid you're all of a sudden going to come up with some off-the-wall idea. So I'd like to know about it ahead of time. I have to prepare myself." Nakata gave it some thought. Nakata has no idea what to do once we get in. This is a library though, so I thought we might start by reading books. I'll find a photo collection or book of paintings, and you can pick whatever you'd like to read. Gotcha! Start by reading. That makes sense. Then, after a while, we can think about what to do next. Okay, Hoshino said. We'll think about what comes later. Sounds like a plan. What a wise lesson this is. We'll think about what comes later. When you start living like this, like we'll think about what comes later, and pay attention to now, you will realize that there are so many incredible things happening around you that you didn't know were there because you were too distracted by your mind. And not only that, you're going to start developing a different set of qualities, such as intuition, your ability to make decisions. This is what we can call surrender to life. This is another book, the Tao Te Ching. Here's a quote that I felt strikes a similar kind of vein. It says, "The master allows things to happen. She shapes events as they come." So this means a master is an awakened person, is someone who allows things to happen, allows himself to be guided by life. She shapes events as they come. Instead of trying to force things to happen, you allow things to happen and work with life rather than against life. And this is the same kind of quality that Nakata embodies. That of trust, intuition, surrender to life. And he does this because he doesn't have such an active mind burdening him like you do or like I do. But that doesn't mean we can't try to strive towards qualities like these. All we have to do is learn to return to the present moment as much as possible. Learn to get outside of your mind. Learn to recognize when you are drowning in thoughts. If while you're drowning in your thoughts, you can say, okay, my mind's making too much noise, let me ground myself. What about the sounds around me? You start paying attention. And gradually your mind subsides. And you step out of mind-dominated state of consciousness into a presence-dominated state of consciousness. And you're present. And you can feel your presence, your being, the life that you are. You have access to all those things, only you don't know that. You forgot that. You don't train the intuition. You don't train the ear that can listen to your emotions and then understand what you have to do in a situation based on that. That's intuition. But if you want to have access to that, you need to be quiet enough to listen. To listen to the things that are a bit quieter, such as your emotions. Let's finish with this one. So here the narrator is describing Nakata. Nakata, though, was used to aimless waiting and spending time alone, doing nothing. He wasn't bothered in the least. Time wasn't the main issue for him. He didn't even own a watch. Which means the present is what's the primary focus of Nakata. which is a drastic difference to how we live. The future is always so much more important than the present for us, generally, or the past. Nakata operated on his own sense of time. In the morning, it got light. In the evening, the sun set, and it got dark. Once it got dark, he'd go to the nearby public baths, and after coming home from his bath, he'd go to sleep. The public baths were closed on certain days of the week, probably the weekend, and when that happened, he'd just give up and go straight home. His stomach told him when it was time to eat, and when the time came for him to go and pick up his subsidy. So you can see how Nakata is very intimately connected with what's going on inside of him and nature around him. He acts based on the cues that are coming to him from outside and inside. If it gets dark, he goes home. If he's hungry, he eats. If he's drowsy, he goes to sleep. But in order to do this, a certain degree of attention is required. We need to be present if we want to be able to listen to the cues, the guides. Life is always guiding you from outside and inside. Many of us feel so lost. And the answer to that is to learn to start paying more attention to what's going on around you, what's going on inside you. And as you do that, slowly you're gonna develop this ability to listen to the cues and to trust the cues that life is sending your way all the time. Nakata let his body relax, switched off his mind, letting things flow through him. This was natural for him, something he'd done ever since he was a child, without a second thought. Before long, the borders of his consciousness fluttered around, just like the butterflies. Beyond these borders lay a dark abyss. Occasionally, his consciousness would fly over the border and hover over that dizzying black crevasse. But Nakata wasn't afraid of the darkness or how deep it was. And why should he be? That bottomless world of darkness, that weighty silence and chaos, was an old friend, a part of him already. So he's accessing that dimension in himself that's behind his thoughts. And it is being described as a bottomless world of darkness. Darkness somehow makes me think of not knowing. I think it was Socrates who said, "All I know is that I know nothing." And by that, what I think he was referring to, he was pointing to the fact that he knew a deeper dimension to himself beyond his thoughts. And from the perspective of your thoughts, from the perspective of the mind, such a state is empty, dark. That's why he calls it darkness. It's the darkness of not knowing. If you don't think about anything, then you don't know much. You don't know your name. You don't know what day of the week it is. You don't know what happened 2 years ago. Because the only way you can know that is by keeping it alive. And you do that by thinking. But if you, for a moment, stop thinking, you don't know much. All you know is that you're alive and that you exist. And whatever's coming to you through your senses. But from the perspective of the mind, this is a state that's not important. Because why would that be important if I don't know anything? That's what the mind convinces you of. But this is a very important state because that's where you reconnect to that source of wellness, to that source of intuition, that source of peace. In that world, there was no writing, no days of the week, no scary governor, no opera, no BMWs, no scissors, no tall hats. On the other hand, neither were there delicious eel, no tasty bean jam buns. Everything is there, but there are no parts. Since there are no parts, there is no need to replace one thing with another. No need to remove anything or add something. So, by this he means this is a place that fulfills him. It's complete fulfillment because nothing is lacking. There is no need to add anything or to replace one thing with another. Whatever's there is good enough. It's a sense of fulfillment, of peace. It's interesting because the search for fulfillment is what drives us generally. We want to, do this, that. We have plans to go there and then get there and then have this promotion, this family, this number of children, because we think, our mind convinces us, when you have that, you will be happy, you will be fulfilled. But that's not true. The truth is this: when you're able, I'm paraphrasing this, when you're able to enter that darkness that's in the present moment, that's inside you, that's underneath your thoughts, and you just are, you're present, you can feel your body sitting in the chair, you can hear the sounds around you. You can feel the aliveness that's in your body, your hands, your feet, your stomach. This is the darkness. It's stillness. It's darkness because it has no content. But when you're able to access that dimension, which is only accessible in the present moment, when your attention is fully aimed at the present moment, and therefore you're not thinking about tomorrow or yesterday, when you're in that state, you're fulfilled. And you're not lacking anything. You don't have a desire to change things, to add anything to you. You're enough. You don't have to think about difficult things. Just let yourself soak it all in. For Nakata, nothing could be better. So this is the state of presence. It's like a meditative state. Meditation can help you get there. That's why I am a strong advocate for meditation. But meditation is just paying attention to the present moment, paying attention to what's happening inside you, and learning to ground yourself in that state of emptiness. There's no thought. It's not a wonderful state of fireworks. No, like he says, there's no delicious eel there. It's just quiet, calm, but fulfilling and deeply peaceful. And the more you learn to enter that state more and more throughout your day, this is something that you can practice. Moments of silence, moments of stillness, moments of introspection throughout your day. 10 minutes of meditation in the morning, or 1 minute of looking around, feeling the breeze against your face after you walk through your main door. You're just there standing, looking at the sky, feeling the air against your face, listening to nature around you. These are things that you can do in order to train your ability to be more present. And when you do that, that's how you're gonna start harboring qualities such as the ones embodied by Nakata: intuition, fulfillment, trust. Yeah, so that's Nakata, and I think that's all I have to say for now. But there's so much more that I could analyze with you from this book, so I would totally recommend it if you're into reading, if you're into fiction and novels. Try it. I'm sure you will not be disappointed. So that's it for now. Thank you for listening. Don't forget, the best way in which you can support my channel if you've liked this is by clicking the like button, subscribe, and you can also check out the other videos that I have also uploaded. And let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Take care, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.